Dad, be grateful you have a roof over your head. Those words came out of my daughter's mouth. My Emily. I just stood there with the mop in my hand, looking at her as if I did not know her, as if she were a stranger. My name is Robert. I am 72 years old. I was born and raised right here in a small town in the Midwest. All my life I worked as a master builder. 45 years raising walls, building houses, mixing cement under the hot sun. These hands you see full of calluses, full of scars, full of years. These hands built many things, and they also raised a girl all alone. Now listen to this story well, because what I am about to tell you changed my life. Forever. And when I finish, you tell me what you would have done in my place. Also tell me from which city you are listening to me. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this story, because sometimes one needs to know that they are not alone. 6 months ago, I lived in my own house. It was small, just 2 bedrooms, but it was mine. I built it myself brick by brick on weekends after long days of work. It took me 3 years to finish it. That is where I raised my Emily when her mother left us. That is where I kept every memory of my Martha. That house was my pride. But one day Emily arrived with her husband Michael. They sat with me in the small living room. She had that face when she wants to ask you for something important, but does not know how to start. Dad, she said, Michael and I found a beautiful house. It is bigger. It is in a very good area. The children we have will be able to go to good schools. I was happy. Of course I was happy. Seeing your daughter progress is the most beautiful thing there is. That is great, honey. I am very pleased. Then Michael cleared his throat. That man has always been like that. Elegant, serious, of few words. He is a civil engineer. He comes from a family with money. Always well dressed, always with his brand new truck. Mr. Robert, he said to me, the issue is that we are short on the down payment. We have been saving, but we still do not have enough. I remained silent, waiting. And we thought, continued Emily, that maybe you could help us. It is not that we are asking for a gift, Dad. It is just that we thought you could sell your house and come live with us. That way you would have company. You would no longer be alone here, and we could buy the new house. Come live with them. The idea went around in my head that night. I did not sleep well. My house was everything I had. But it was also true that sometimes I felt alone. Since I retired 5 years ago, the days are long. Very long. And Emily was my only daughter, my only family. What do I want a house for all by myself, I thought. I am already old. They are young. They need to grow. And me, well, I already live my life. The following week, I put my house up for sale. It sold fast. They gave me $150,000. It was not much, but it was fair. I gave $120,000 completely to Emily and Michael for the down payment. I stayed with just $30,000. For my expenses, I told them, so as not to be a burden. Michael shook my hand. Thank you, Mr. Robert. This means a lot to us. Really. Emily hugged me, crying. Thank you, Dad. You are the best dad in the world. I promise you that you are going to be fine with us. Always. I believed her. We moved to the new house 6 months ago. It is big, beautiful. It has 3 floors, spacious living room, modern kitchen garden, everything very elegant. They gave me the smallest room. It is next to the laundry room at the back of the house, but I did not complain. It has a bed, a wardrobe, a small window. It is enough for an old man like me. The first days were good. I felt useful. I woke up early like all my life. I made coffee, swept the patio, watered the plants in the garden. Things I do out of habit, you know. Not because they asked me to, simply because I cannot be doing nothing. Michael treated me with respect. He called me Mr. Robert. He asked me how I had slept. Sometimes we talked about football at night. I thought that maybe I had been wrong about him, that maybe he was a good man. Emily was happy. I saw her decorating her house, buying new furniture, making plans, and I felt content seeing her like that. That is what a father wants, right? To see his children happy. But something started it to change. I do not know exactly when. It was small things at first, details that one does not notice until they pile up. Michael stopped calling me Mr. Robert. Now he just called me Robert dryly, or sometimes not even that. He just spoke to me without looking at me. One day I was sitting in the living room watching the news. Michael arrived from work. He saw me there and frowned. Robert, can you watch TV in your room? I am going to receive an important call. I stood up without saying anything. I went to my room. I closed the door. I sat on the edge of the bed, looking at the wall. Another day he asked me to bring him a glass of water while he worked on his computer. Robert, get me water. Just like that. How you speak to it. I do not know. I went and brought it to him. Then he started asking me for more things. To heat up his food. To iron a shirt. To clean his shoes because he had an important meeting, and I did it. Without complaining. Because I thought, well, I am living in his house. It is the least I can do. But there was something in the way he spoke to me. There was no longer respect. There was no longer warmth. He spoke to me as one speaks to someone who owes you something. Emily noticed. I saw her looking at us out of the corner of her eye. But she said nothing. She stayed silent, or she went to another part of the house. That hurt me more than anything, the silence of my daughter. One night I was washing the dinner dishes. Michael and Emily had eaten. I ate after, as always. I had already gotten used to that. They ate first. I ate later. I heard Michael telling Emily in the living room, "Your dad has to understand that there are rules here. He cannot be getting in the way in the living room all day." "I know," replied Emily quietly. "I already told him to stay in his room when you were working." I stood there in front of the sink, with my hands in the soapy water, looking out the window towards the dark garden. Getting in the way. That phrase echoed in my head all night. Me who gave them $120,000. Me who sold my house so they could buy this one. Me who raised that girl alone, with all the love I could give her. Now I was a hindrance. I went to bed that night looking at the ceiling, unable to sleep, thinking about my Martha, wondering what she would tell me if she were here, wondering if I had done well in coming. But I still did not know anything. I still did not know what would come later. I still did not know that those words from my daughter, "Dad, be grateful you have a roof where to sleep," I would hear them barely 3 weeks later, and I still did not know that I, Mr. Robert, the man who always stayed silent, who always endured, who always forgave, was going to do something that nobody expected. But that comes later. Things got worse fast. Within a month of living with them, Michael did not even greet me when he arrived from work. He entered through the keys on the table, took off his jacket, and shouted, "Robert, my dinner," just like that, how you shout at the dog. I came out of my room. I heated his food, served it to him. He ate looking at his cell phone. He did not even look at me. He finished, left the dirty plate there on the table, and went to his bedroom. Emily ate later. Sometimes with me, sometimes alone. We almost did not talk anymore. She arrived tired from her work at the accounting firm. She looked exhausted. But when I tried to ask her how she was, she answered me with single words. "Good, Dad. Tired, Dad. Later, we will talk, Dad." But that later never arrived. One afternoon I was sweeping the patio. It was hot. That humid heat that hits you in the back of the neck and does not let go. I stopped for a moment to dry my sweat. I was thirsty. I went under the kitchen for a glass of water. Michael was there making himself a coffee. He saw me enter and looked at me with annoyance. "Did you finish sweeping?" "Almost," I told him. "I just came for water." "Well, hurry up. Today some clients are coming to the house. I need everything to be spotless. And also wash my truck. It is full of dust." I stood looking at him. I wanted to tell him so many things. To remind him who had paid the down payment for that house. To tell him that I was not his employee. That I was his wife's father. That I deserved respect. But I swallowed my words. "Yes," I said simply. And I went out to the patio to finish sweeping. I washed his truck under the midday sun. The water splashed me. My knees hurt from crouching. I am 72 years old. My body is not the same as before, but there I was, scrubbing, rinsing, drying. Michael came out a while later. He inspected the truck. He walked around it completely. He ran his finger over the hood, looking for dust. He said. It is fine. Next time put more wax on it. And he went into the house. Not a thank you. Not a Mr. Robert. It looks good. Nothing. I sat on the sidewalk at the entrance. I took a deep breath. I looked towards the street. Cars passed. People walked. The world followed its normal course, and me sitting there, wondering how I had come to this. That night, Michael's clients arrived. They were a young couple. He showed them the house with pride. Look, here is the living room. Over there, the full kitchen. The garden is well kept. We have 3 bedrooms. The clients smiled. They nodded. The woman touched the furniture. She admired the decoration. What a beautiful house, she said. I was in the kitchen. Emily had asked me to prepare coffee and some cookies for the guests. So there I was, pouring cups, arranging sugar, the teaspoons. Michael called me. Robert, bring the coffee to the living room. I carried the tray. I walked slowly so as not to spill anything. I arrived at the living room. Michael was chatting animatedly with the clients. Yes, we bought this house 6 months ago. It has been an excellent investment. The area is growing a lot. I put the tray on the coffee table. I served the coffee. Nobody looked at me. Nobody said anything to me. It was like I was invisible. When I was leaving the living room, I heard the man asking Michael, "And who is he?" There was a brief silence. "Oh," said Michael, "he is my wife's father. He lives here with us." "How noble of you," said the woman. "Not just anyone receives their father-in-law at home." Michael let out a laugh. "Yes, well, one does what one can for family right." I stood there in the hallway listening. How noble of you! As if he were doing me a favor, as if I were a burden, a weight they had decided to carry out of kindness. Not out of love, not out of gratitude, not because I had sold my house so they could buy this one. Out of kindness. I went back to the kitchen. I sat on the chair next to the table. I looked at my hands. Those old hands that had built so many houses, that had carried bags of cement bricks rods, that had raised a girl when she was left without a mother. And now those same hands served coffee to my son-in-law's guests. That night when everyone went to sleep, I stayed awake in my room. I thought about my Martha, about how she would have scolded me if she saw me like this. She was a strong woman of character. She did not let anyone walk over her. "Robert," she would have told me, "what are you doing? You are nobody's servant. Stand up. Have dignity." But I did not know how. I had spent my whole life being a quiet man. I never looked for fights. I never raised my voice. I always preferred to stay silent, to endure, to let things pass. My dad taught me that way. A real man does not fight, he told me. A real man works and shuts up. And I always listened to him. But now I do not know if my dad was right. The following days were the same. Michael treated me worse every time. He did not even pretend anymore. He gave me orders in front of Emily, and she said nothing. She lowered her gaze. She went to her room. One morning I woke up early as always. I went to the kitchen to make coffee. Michael was already there eating breakfast. He was in a bad mood. It showed on his face. "Robert," he told me without looking at me, "today, Friday, you have to wash all the bedding. The sheets, the pillowcases, everything. And also iron my shirts for the week. I have important meetings." Yes, I told him. And another thing he added. "I do not want you using the living room anymore. You just get in the way there. If you want to watch TV, you stay in your room." I stayed silent. "Did you understand?" "Yes," I repeated. He finished his coffee, grabbed his briefcase, and left the house without saying goodbye. I stood there in the kitchen, alone, looking at the door through which he had just left, and for the first time in many years, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Rage. A small rage, still, quiet, hidden deep inside, but it was there, and every day it grew a little more. 2 more weeks passed. Every day was worse than the last. Michael spoke to me as if I were his servant now. I was no longer Robert. Now I was Hey You, or Old Man, just like that, without respect, without anything. Old man, bring me a beer. Old man, iron this. Old man, do not leave your sandals there. My sandals. The only ones I had. I could not leave them at the entrance like before. Now I had to keep them in my room, because they looked ugly, because they gave a bad image. One afternoon I was mopping the living room. It was hot. My back hurt. At my age, bending over and scrubbing for hours is not easy. But there I was, because Michael had said the house had to be spotless. Always spotless. My cell phone rang. It was an old phone, one of those with buttons. I'd bought it years ago. It rang loud. One of those old tunes. Michael was in his office upstairs. He came down the stairs like a furious bull. "Turn off that damn thing," he shouted at me. "I am on an important video call. Can you not have the phone on silent like a normal person?" I froze, with the mop in my hand, dripping water on the floor. "Sorry," I said. "I did not know that." "We'll find out. This is my house. There are rules here. If you do not like them, you know where the door is." He turned around and went up the stairs, stomping his feet. I stood there, trembling, not from fear, from anger, from helplessness. This is my house. Those words drilled into my brain. My house. His house. As if I had not put in a single dollar. As if those walls had not been raised with the money from the sale of my little house. As if that down payment of $120,000 had come out of his pocket. I finished mopping. I put everything away. I went to my room. I closed the door. I sat on the edge of the bed, and for the first time in months, I cried. I cried in silence, without making noise, because I could not even cry out loud, lest I disturb the engineer. I cried for my Martha, because she did not deserve to see her husband like this. Humiliated, treated worse than a dog, I cried for my Emily, for the girl I raised, the girl who hugged me and told me, "I love you, Daddy." Where was that girl now? I cried for me, for the man I was. The respected master builder, the one who built houses with pride, the one who walked through the construction site and everyone greeted him. "Mr. Robert, good morning." "Mr. Robert, how's everything going?" "Mr. Robert, you really know your stuff." Now I was the old man, the hindrance, the one who should be grateful for having a roof. That night I went down to dinner late, as always. They had already eaten. I heated up a little rice that was left, a piece of chicken. I sat alone in the kitchen. I listened to their voices in the living room. They were watching a movie, laughing, as if nothing, as if I did not exist. I washed my plate. I dried everything. I turned off the kitchen lights. I was walking towards my room when I heard Emily's voice. "Honey, do you think we are being too hard on my dad?" My heart stopped. I stood there in the dark hallway, listening. Michael let out a snort, hard. "Emily, your dad lives here for free. He eats for free. He has a room. What more does he want? The only thing we ask is that he helps a little with the house. It is nothing out of this world." "I know, but—" "But what?" Michael's voice sounded annoyed now. "Do you think I do not work all day? Do you think I do not break my back to pay for this house? Your dad does nothing. The minimum is that he earns his place here." There was a silence. "You are right," said Emily quietly. "You are right." I felt like they had stuck a knife in my chest. "You are right. My daughter. My Emily. The girl I raised alone. The one I supported with my sweat and my calluses. The one I sent to university working double shifts. The one who cried in my arms every time she missed her mom. That girl had just said, 'You are right.'" I went to my room. I locked the door. I lay on the bed looking at the ceiling. There was a damp spot in the corner. I saw it every night before sleeping. And lying there in the dark, I made a decision. I was not going to take it any more. But I was not going to leave just like that either. Defeated, humiliated, like a dog with its tail between its legs. No, I was Mr. Robert, master builder, builder of houses and lives, and if years of hard work had taught me something, it is this. When you build something, you do it with a firm foundation, with solid bases, with patience, and they also taught me that when a construction is poorly made, you have to tear it down, start from zero. I still did not know how I was going to do it. I did not have a plan. But something inside me had changed that night. The rage that had been growing small, hidden quiet, was now a fire, and that fire needed to come out. The next day I got up as always. At 6 in the morning I bathed, I got dressed, I left my room. Michael was having breakfast. He saw me, and without looking up from his cell phone, he told me, "Old man, today you cleaned the windows of the whole house and cut the grass. It is very long." Yes, I told him. But this time, when I said yes, something was different. Because I already knew that yes was not going to last forever. And they had no idea what was coming. Not yet. Friday arrived, payday for Emily, the 15th of the month. I was in the backyard. I had spent the whole morning cutting the grass. The sun was hitting hard. My shirt was soaked in sweat. My knees hurt. But I kept going, cutting, raking, bagging. I heard Emily arrive. She entered the house. I heard her voice greeting Michael. Laughter. They were talking about something. I finished with the grass. I gathered the tools. I put everything in the little laundry room. I washed my hands. I dried the sweat from my face with an old towel. I entered the house. Michael and Emily were in the living room. He had a glass of wine in his hand. She was sitting next to him, checking her cell phone. They looked happy, relaxed. I passed in front of them towards my room. They did not even turn to look at me. Robert said Michael without looking up, "Today we have meat to grill. Tonight we are going to have a barbecue. Prepare everything, the grill, the charcoal, the plates, and also cut the vegetables." "Yes," I said. "Oh, and another thing," he added. "Some friends of mine are coming, like 6 people, so you need to have everything ready by 8. I nodded and kept walking. I arrived at my room. I closed the door. I sat on the bed. 6 people. A barbecue and me there as the grill master, the waiter, the servant. I took a deep breath. "Calm down, Robert," I told myself. Calm down. That afternoon I prepared everything. I cleaned the grill, lit the charcoal, took out the plates, cut tomatoes, onions, cilantro. I made the salsa. I set the table in the garden. At 8, the guests started arriving. They were friends of Michael. Engineers, architects, well-dressed people with expensive watches, expensive perfumes, expensive laughs. Michael received them like a great host. He showed them the house. "Look at the garden. Look at the kitchen. Here is the living room." Emily served them drinks. She smiled. She played the hostess. And me, I was at the grill turning the meat, making sure it did not burn. The smoke hit me in the face. The heat from the charcoal burned my hands. One of the friends approached a fat guy with a mustache. He had a beer in his hand. "Hey, friend," he said to me. "Is the meat ready yet? I am hungry, you do not even know." "Almost," I told him. "All right, then, put some effort into it." He walked away laughing with his friends. I served the meat, took it to the table. Everyone sat down, started eating, laughing, talking, toasting. I stood to one side, waiting, in case they needed anything. Robert shouted, "Michael, bring more tortillas." I went to the kitchen, heated more tortillas, brought them. Robert shouted another guest, "Bring more salsa." I went, brought the salsa. Robert, bring more beer. Robert, bring napkins. Robert, bring ice. And I went back and forth like a waiter, like a servant. At one moment, one of the guests asked Michael, "Hey, and who is he?" "Your worker." Michael let out a loud laugh. "No, man. He is my wife's father. He lives here with us." "Ah," said the guy, "how good that he helps like that." "There are fathers-in-law who just arrived to be freeloaders without doing anything." Everyone laughed. "Yes," said Michael. "That is why I always say, if you are going to live in my house, you have to earn your place right." More laughter. I stood there with the empty tray in my hands, listening. Have to earn the place, as if I had not paid the down payment for that house, as if my $120,000 was worth nothing. The dinner ended around 11 at night. The guests left. Michael and Emily went into the house, tired, happy, full. I stayed outside picking up dirty plates, trash bags, beer cans, empty bottles. I turned off the grill, cleaned everything, washed the dishes dried, put away. It was almost 12 at night when I finished. My hands smelled of smoke, of meat, of grease. My feet hurt, my back hurt, my soul hurt. I served myself a plate of what was left over. I sat alone in the kitchen. I ate the leftovers of the barbecue I had prepared in silence. The next day was Saturday. I got up early as always. My whole body hurt, but I got up. I went to the kitchen. It was a disaster. Dirty glasses, bottles, plates that I had not managed to wash the night before. I started cleaning. Michael came down around 10 in the morning, in pajamas, yawning. "Good morning," I told him. He did not answer me. He poured himself coffee. He sat at the kitchen table, checking his cell phone. I kept washing dishes. Emily came down a while later, also in pajamas. She looked tired. "Good morning, honey," I told her. "Good morning, Dad," she replied without looking at me. She poured coffee. She sat next to Michael. I was still there, washing, drying, putting away. Suddenly Michael spoke to me without looking up from his cell phone. "Robert, today in the afternoon we have to go out. We are going to the movies and then to dinner. So take advantage to clean the house well and also wash Emily's car. It is dirty." I remained silent. "Did you hear?" said, raising his voice. "Yes." "Good." He kept watching his cell phone. I finished washing the dishes. I dried my hands. I stood there for a moment looking at them sitting comfortably drinking their coffee in their house. In the house that I paid for, and then it happened. Emily turned to look at me. She looked me straight in the eyes and said something I will never forget. "Dad," she said with a serious voice, "be grateful you have a roof where to sleep. There are many old people who are abandoned in nursing homes or on the street. You at least have a family that received you." My blood ran cold. "Be grateful you have a roof where to sleep." Michael smiled. He nodded. "That is right," he said. "Nobody is kicking you out here, but you do have to do your part." The two of them looked at me, waiting for me to say something to thank them, to humiliate myself a little more. And me! I looked at them both, at my daughter, at the man who thought he owned everything, and I knew in that exact moment that everything was over. There was no turning back. "You are right, honey," I said calmly. "You are absolutely right." And I left the kitchen. I arrived at my room. I closed the door. I sat on the bed. And I smiled. Because they did not know that I had already started moving, that I had already made calls, that I had already spoken with people, that the next 3 months were going to be very interesting, very interesting. Let me tell you something they never knew. 3 days before that barbecue, 3 days before my daughter told me to be grateful for having a roof, I had already made a call to Mr. Henry. Henry was my neighbor from the old house, my buddy, my friend of over 30 years. We worked together on many construction sites. He is a man of his word, one of those of which there are not many left. I called him one afternoon, from my room, with the door closed. In a low voice. "Buddy," I told him, "I need you to do me a favor, a big favor. Tell me, Robert, whatever you need. I need you to help me get some documents, papers from the sale of my house. And also, I need you to find something out for me." "What thing?" "I need to know if the down payment on my son-in-law's house, if it was registered, in whose name." There was a silence. Buddy said, Henry slowly, "Are you okay? Are they treating you badly?" "I am fine," I lied. "I just need to know that. It is important." "All right. Give me a few days. I will get that for you." And he delivered. Henry always delivered. A week later he called me. He told me to go to his house, that he had what I asked for. One Tuesday afternoon I told Michael I was going out, that I needed to go to the doctor, that my knees hurt. "Okay," he said without turning to see me. "But come back early. The bathrooms need washing." I left the house. I took the bus. I went to Henry's house. He received me with a strong hug. He invited me into his living room. He poured me a coffee. Buddy, he told me, here is everything. He handed me a folder. Inside were copies. Copies of the sales contract of my house. Copies of the bank transfer receipt. $120,000. From my account to Michael's account. And there was also something else. A document from the public registry. Of the house where we now lived. Look at this, said Henry, pointing with his finger. The house is in the name of Michael Morales. Only him. Your daughter does not appear as a co-owner. Nothing. I felt a blow to the chest. Are you sure? Very sure. I went to the registry myself. I asked for a certified copy. Here it is. The house is only in his name. I stood looking at the paper. The letters, the official seals. My daughter, my Emily. She was not even the owner of the house where she lived. And there is something else, said Henry. I investigated a little. That Michael has debts. Several. Credit cards. A personal loan. Like $60,000 in total. How did you know? I have a nephew who works at a bank. He helped me check. I leaned back on the sofa. I closed my eyes. Everything was starting to make sense. That is why Michael had insisted so much that I sell my house. That is why he needed that $120,000. Not just for the down payment, also to pay his debts. And my daughter? My poor daughter. She did not even know she owned nothing. What are you going to do, Buddy Henry asked me. I looked him in the eyes. I am going to wait, I told him. I am going to shut up. I am going to endure. But I am going to prepare. For what? To take back what is mine. Henry nodded slowly. If you need anything, whatever it is, call me. I will help you. Thanks, Buddy. I returned to the house around 6 in the afternoon. Michael was in the living room watching television. Did you go to the doctor already? He asked me without turning around. Yes. And what did he tell you? That I have wear and tear in my knees, that it is normal at my age. Well, the bathrooms are not going to wash themselves. I will wash them right now. I went to my room. I put the folder Henry had given me under the mattress, well hidden. And I started to plan. That same week I made another call. To a lawyer. His name was Mr. Davis. He was the lawyer who had helped me with the sale of my house. A serious, honest man. Mr. Robert, he said when I called him. How are you? I have not heard from you in a while. Good, Mr. Davis. I need a consultation, a private consultation. Sure, what is it about? I explained everything to him. The sale of my house, the money I gave Michael that now I lived with them. That they treated me like a servant. That the house was only in Michael's name. The lawyer listened in silence. Mr. Robert, he said at the end, you have rights. That money was a contribution. Legally, you could sue for that money if you prove it was a loan or an unrecognized contribution, even if I gave it voluntarily. If there is no document that says it was a gift, then there are ways to recover it, or at least part of it. How long would it take? It depends. Maybe 6 months. Maybe a year. But it can be done. Okay, I want you to start preparing everything, but I do not want to do anything yet. I need to wait for the right moment. When would that be? When they least expect it. The lawyer remained silent for a moment. I understand, he said finally. Count on me, Mr. Robert. I am going to prepare everything. I hung up the phone. I took a deep breath. The pieces were falling into place. But I was not going to rush. I was not going to act out of anger. I was going to do it right, with intelligence, with patience. Because I knew something Michael did not know. I knew how to build. And when you build well, you build to last. But you also know exactly where the weak points are, where to apply pressure, where to hit so everything comes down. And this house? This house, he believed so solid, had many weak points. Weeks passed. I kept enduring. I kept quiet. I kept doing everything they asked. But every night in my room, I reviewed my documents, my papers, my plan. Henry visited me sometimes. He called me. He asked me how everything was going. Calm down, buddy, I told him, almost there. I also started saving money. The $30,000 I had left were in the bank, but I started taking out a little bit. 500 here, 200 there. I kept it in my room, in a safe place, because I knew I was going to need that money soon. One day, Emily found me counting bills in my room. She entered without knocking. "Dad, what are you doing?" she asked me. "Nothing, honey. Just checking my savings." "What for?" "Just in case. One never knows." She looked at me with suspicion. "You're not thinking of leaving, are you?" I looked her in the eyes. "And if I left, would you care?" She stayed silent. She lowered her gaze. "Of course I would care, Dad. You are my dad." "Really, Emily, would you really care?" She did not answer me. She left the room. She closed the door, and I stayed there sitting, with the bills in my hand, smiling, because it was almost time. The 3 months were about to be up. 3 months since that night when my daughter told me to be grateful for having a roof. 3 months of silence, of enduring, of planning, and they were still so confident, so sure, so comfortable. They did not know the storm was about to arrive, and when it arrived, it was going to take everything. The 3 months were fulfilled exactly. 90 days since my daughter told me those words. Be grateful you have a roof where to sleep. 90 days enduring, quiet, serving, cleaning, obeying like a dog. But those 90 days were not in vain, because while they slept peacefully, while Michael shouted at me and Emily ignored me, I moved in silence, like a spider weaving its web, slowly, with patience, without anyone noticing. It was a Friday, payday again. Michael arrived in a good mood. He brought news. "Honey," he told Emily while they were having dinner, "I already spoke with the guy from the construction company. They're going to give me the new project. It is big. A lot of money." Emily screamed with emotion. She got up and hugged him. "Seriously?" "Oh, honey, what happiness." "Yes, finally we are going to do better. Now we will be able to buy the car you wanted." They kissed. They hugged. They toasted with wine. And me, I was in the kitchen washing their dinner dishes, listening to them, watching them out of the corner of my eye. Michael turned towards me. "Hey, old man, tomorrow's Saturday. We are going to celebrate. I am going to invite some partners to eat here. So prepare everything. We are going to have a good celebration." "How many people?" I asked. "Like 10, maybe 12, you know? Clean the house well, prepare the grill, buy whatever is missing." He gave me $300. "With this, it is enough. And if there is any left over, give it back to me." I took the money. I put it in my pocket. "Yes," I said simply. That night I could not sleep. I stayed awake looking at the ceiling, thinking, calculating. Tomorrow was going to be the day. After 3 months, after everything I had prepared, tomorrow I was going to land the first blow. I got up at 5 in the morning. I bathed. I dressed in my cleanest clothes, my white shirt, my jeans, my boots old but polished. I looked in the mirror. I saw an old man with white hair, wrinkles on his face, rough hands, but in my eyes there was something that had not been there in a long time. Fire. I ate breakfast alone in the kitchen, bread with coffee, slowly, calmly. At 8 in the morning I left the house. I told Michael I was going to the market to buy the meat and things for the meal. "All right, but come back early. Everything has to be prepared." Yes, but I did not go to the market. I went downtown, to an office building, to the 5th floor, to Mr. Davis's office. He was waiting for me. "Mr. Robert," he said, shaking my hand. "Come in. Everything is ready." We entered his office. He closed the door. He took out a folder. "Here is everything. The lawsuit is prepared. It just needs you to sign." "What am I suing for exactly, Mr. Davis?" "Recovery of money delivered under the concept of an undocumented loan. $120,000, plus legal interest. Since there is no document specifying it was a donation, the law favors us. And when would we deliver it? When you say. But I recommend it be soon. The more time passes, the harder it will be." I took a deep breath. "Mr. Davis." "Today in the afternoon." "Today?" He looked at me surprised. "Today? Are you sure? Totally sure." "All right, then I need you to sign here. And here." I signed, with a steady hand, without trembling. And now what follows? I asked. Now we file the lawsuit. In a few hours, the notification reaches your son-in-law. A judge reviews it. And in a few days, there is a hearing. Perfect. Mr. Roberts, said the lawyer, looking serious. You are aware this is going to cause problems. Your daughter is going to be upset. Your son-in-law is going to react badly. I know. And are you prepared for that? I looked him in the eyes. Mr. Davis, I have been prepared for 3 months. I left the office. I went down the stairs. I went out to the street. The sun was hitting hard. There were people walking, cars passing, noise, life, and me standing there on the sidewalk with a smile on my lips. The first piece had been activated. Now came the second. I went to the market. I bought the meat, the vegetables, everything Michael had asked me for. I returned to the house around 11. It is about time, Michael told me when I entered. I thought you had gotten lost. There were a lot of people at the market. I lied. Well, hurry up. The guests arrive at 2. I got to work. I prepared the grill. I cut vegetables. I made salsa. I took out plates, glasses, napkins. Everything perfect. Everything spotless, as always. At 2, the guests started arriving. Engineers, architects, partners of Michael, with their well-groomed wives, with their fake laughs, with their expensive perfumes. Michael received them proud. He showed them the house. Look how beautiful it turned out. Here is the garden. Look at the kitchen. And me. I was at the grill again, grilling meat, serving, obeying. But this time was different. This time I knew that every order he gave me, every humiliation, every old man bring me, this was being recorded in my memory. Because soon, very soon, everything was going to change. Around 4 in the afternoon, while everyone ate and laughed, the doorbell rang. Michael frowned. Who could it be? I'm not expecting anyone else. He got up. He went to open the door. I stayed at the grill, without turning, but listening, with all my senses alert. I heard voices at the entrance. Mr. Michael Morales. Yes, that is me. Who are you? I come on behalf of the civil court. I bring a notification for you. Silence. A notification. Of what? A lawsuit. I need you to sign for receipt. My heart beat fast, but I did not move. I kept turning the meat, as if nothing. I heard footsteps, the door closing, more footsteps. Michael returned to the garden. He had a manila envelope in his hand. His face was red, confused. Emily saw him. What happened, honey? Who was it? I do not know. They brought me a notification, a lawsuit. A lawsuit of what? Michael opened the envelope. He took out the papers. He started reading. And then his face changed completely. He turned pale. White as paper. It cannot be, he murmured. It cannot be. What? What does it say? Asked Emily, scared. Michael looked up, and he looked for me with his gaze. He found me there, at the grill, with the tongs in my hand. You, he told me with a choked voice, you did this. All the guests fell silent. They looked at us, confused. I put down the tongs. I wiped my hands on the rag, and I looked him straight in the eyes. Yes, what I had to do, honey. Sue for my money. For that $120,000 I gave your husband. The money that came from the sale of my house that I built with my hands. Michael squeezed the papers with fury. That money was a gift. You gave it to us. Where is the paper that says that? I asked calmly. Where is the signed document that says it was a donation? There is no paper, I continued. Because we never made one, and the law says that without a paper. It is a loan, and loans are paid back, with interest. The guests looked at us open-mouthed, without understanding well what was happening. Emily approached me, with tears in her eyes. How could you, Dad? How could you do this to us? I looked at her, at my daughter, at my Emily, and I told her something I had been keeping to myself for 3 months. How could I? How could I? No, honey. The question is, how could you? And there in front of everyone, in front of the guests, in front of Michael and Emily, I told them everything. I am going to tell you how you could. I said with a firm voice. You treated me like trash, like a slave, as if I was worth nothing. The guests looked uncomfortable. Some lowered their eyes. Others looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Dad, do not do this here, said Emily through her teeth. We have guests. Oh, yeah, we have guests, I said, raising my voice. Perfect. Let them listen. Let everyone listen to how you have treated me these 3 months. Michael took a step towards me. His face was red with rage. Shut up, old man. You do not know what you are saying. I do not know. I know perfectly. I know I sold my house. The house I built with these hands. The house where I raised my daughter alone when she was left without a mother. I sold that house and gave you $120,000 so you could buy this one. I pointed at the house with my finger. $120,000, I repeated. And you promised me I was going to live here, that it was going to be my home too. And it is shouted, Michael, you have a room, you have food, you have everything. Everything, I let out a bitter laugh. You gave me everything. Let me tell everyone what you really gave me. I turned towards the guests, towards those faces of well-dressed people who had seen me as a servant all afternoon. They gave me the smallest room in the house, the one next to the laundry room. They forbade me to use the living room. They forbade me to watch television when Mr. Engineer was home. They turned me into their employee, into their servant. That is not true, shouted Emily. No. Is it not true, honey? Who washed your clothes? Who cleaned your bathrooms? Who prepared your food? Who washed your car? Who attended to your guests like a waiter? I pointed towards the grill. Who is here grilling the meat for your celebration while you celebrate? Nobody said anything, and the worst was not that I continued. The worst was the humiliation, the insults. Old man, bring me this. Old man, do that. They did not even call me by my name anymore. I was no longer Mr. Robert. I was no longer Dad. I was the old man. The hindrance. One of the lady guests put her hand to her mouth. Others shook their heads uncomfortably. And exactly 3 months ago, I said, looking Emily straight in the eyes, my own daughter, the girl I raised alone, the one I supported working double shifts so she could study. She told me something I will never forget. Emily started to cry. She told me, Dad, be grateful you have a roof where to sleep. The silence was total. Only the crackling of the charcoal on the grill could be heard, as if I were a beggar, as if you were doing me a favor, as if my money had not paid the down payment for this house. Michael clenched his fists. That money was a gift. You gave it voluntarily. Nobody forced you. You are right, I said calmly. Nobody forced me. I gave it because I loved my daughter, because I wanted to see her happy, because I thought I was going to live my last years with my family, with dignity, with respect. I approached him. But you turned my generosity into slavery. You turned my love into humiliation. Enough, shouted Michael. Get out of my house. Your house. I smiled. Ah, yes, your house. Because it is only in your name, right? Michael froze. Yes, I continued. I investigated. The house is registered only in your name. My daughter is not even a co-owner. With the money I gave, with my $120,000. Emily turned to look at Michael surprised. What? Is that true? Michael did not answer. He lowered his gaze. Honey, said Emily with a trembling voice, is the house not in my name too? I was going to fix it later, murmured Michael. It was easier that way for the paperwork. Easier, I said. Or maybe more convenient. Because that way, if something happens, if you separate, if there are problems, she has no right to anything, even though my money paid for part of this. One of the guests stood up. Excuse us, he said. I think it is better that we leave. This is a family matter. The others started getting up too. They gathered their things. They murmured among themselves. They said goodbye quickly and left. In 5 minutes, everyone was gone. Only the 3 of us remained, in the garden, with the meat burning on the grill, with plates full of untouched food. Emily was crying, sitting in a chair. Michael paced from one side to the other, furious. This is not going to stay like this, he said. I am going to fight this. No judge is going to agree with you. Maybe yes, maybe no, I said calmly. But do you know what is going to happen in the meantime? You are going to be investigated. They are going to review your finances, your debts, everything? Michael stayed silent. Yes, I continued, I know about your debts. $60,000 in cards and loans. That is why you needed my money so urgently. Not just for the down payment, also to cover your debts. What debts? Asked Emily, standing up. What is he talking about, Michael? Michael did not answer. Ask him, I told my daughter. Ask him how much he owes. Ask him why he needed my money so urgently. Emily approached Michael. Is it true? Do you have debts? They are business things, he stammered. Investments. Nothing serious. How much? Insisted Emily. Like 50,000. Emily put her hands to her head. $50,000. And you did not tell me anything. I was going to solve it. I already told you they gave me the new project. With that, I am going to pay everything. If they give it to you, I said, because when they find out about this, when they find out you are in a legal dispute, maybe they will reconsider giving you that project. Michael looked at me with pure hate. This is your revenge, is it not? You want to destroy me? No, I said calmly. I just want what is mine, my money or my respect, choose. Your respect, spat Michael, and what do you want? That we ask for forgiveness? That we kneel? No, it is too late for that. I approached my daughter. She looked at me with eyes full of tears. Emily, I told her softly, for 3 months I waited. I waited for you to see me, for you to realize how your husband treated me. I waited for you to say something, for you to defend me, even just once. Dad. But you never did. You stayed silent. You lowered your gaze. You left. And when you finally said something, it was to tell me to be grateful for having a roof. I am sorry, Dad. I am so sorry. I know, my daughter. I know you are sorry, but the damage is already done. I turned around. I walked towards the house. Where are you going? Asked Michael. To my room. To pack my things. Are you leaving? Yes, I am leaving. This very night. And where are you going to go? He shouted. You have nothing. You have no house. I stopped. I looked at him for the last time. You are right. I have no house. But I have something you will never have. What? Dignity. I went up to my room. I took out my old suitcase, the same one I arrived with 6 months ago. I started putting in my clothes, my few things, the documents I had hidden under the mattress. I heard Emily coming up the stairs. She knocked on my door. Dad, do not go, please. It is already decided, honey. Where are you going to go? Do not worry about me. I already have a place to go, and it was true. Henry had offered me to stay at his house as long as I needed. I finished packing. I closed the suitcase. I left the room. Emily was standing there crying. I love you, Dad, she said. I hugged her. It was a short hug. Sad. I love you too, honey. I will always love you, but I cannot be here anymore. I went down the stairs. Michael was in the living room, sitting with his head in his hands. I did not say anything to him. There was nothing to say. I left the house. I closed the door behind me and walked towards the street, towards my freedom. Henry received me with a strong hug that night. Buddy, he told me, welcome. This is your house as long as you need. He gave me the guest room. It was simple but clean. A bed, a wardrobe, a window facing the street. And most importantly, it was a place where I could be in peace. That first night, I slept deeply, without noises, without orders, without humiliations. For the first time in 6 months, I slept peacefully. I woke up the next day. It was like 8 in the morning. Henry was already awake, drinking coffee in his kitchen. Good morning, buddy, he said, smiling. Did you sleep well? Like I had not slept in months, I answered him, I imagine. Sit down. Coffee is ready. We had breakfast together. Sweet bread, pot coffee. Talking about simple things, about the weather, about football, about the old times when we worked together on sites. No dramas, no insults, No orders. Just two old friends sharing breakfast. And now what follows? Henry asked me. Now I wait. Mr. Davis told me that in a week there is a hearing. That is where it will be decided if the lawsuit proceeds. Do you think you will win? I do not know, buddy. But at least I already recovered something I had lost. What thing? My dignity. Henry nodded slowly. That is priceless, buddy. That is priceless. Days passed. Quiet. I helped Henry with some things around the house, but he never asked me. I did it because I wanted to, because that is how I am. But now it was different. Now I did it with pleasure, with mutual respect, like two people helping each other, not like master and servant. On Wednesday of that week, my cell phone rang. It was Emily. I hesitated to answer, but in the end I did. Hello, Dad. Her voice sounded broken. She had been crying. Can we talk, please? What do you want, Emily? I need to see you. I need to talk to you. It is important. Where? Can you come to a cafe? There is one near you, near where you were before. The Moon Cafe. Do you know it? Yes. What time? In an hour. I will be there. I hung up. Henry looked at me from the living room. Was it your daughter? Yes. She wants to talk. Are you going to go? Yes. I want to hear what she has to say. Be careful, buddy. Sometimes words are not enough. I know. I arrived at the cafe at the agreed time. Emily was already there, sitting at a table in the back. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes as if she had not slept in days. I sat in front of her. Hi, Dad, she said quietly. Hi, honey. There was an awkward silence. She played with her coffee cup without drinking. Thanks for coming, she said finally. What did you want to tell me? I want to apologize. Really, for everything. I looked her in the eyes. She had tears. I did not realize, Dad. I did not realize how Michael was treating you. How I also treated you badly. You did realize, Emily, I said calmly. What happens is that you did not want to do anything. You are right, she sobbed. You were right. I was afraid. Afraid that Michael would get upset. Afraid there would be problems in my marriage. And I sacrificed you. And now, why do you change? She wiped her tears with a napkin. Because I realized many things. After you left, I started seeing Michael differently. I started asking questions. About the debts. About the house. About everything. And what did you find? That you were right about everything. The debts are real. The house is only in his name. And also, she stopped. Also what? Also, I discovered that new project he said they were going to give him is a lie. They rejected him. But he lied to me. He told me yes, they gave it to him, so I would not worry. I shook my head. Emily, that man is deceiving you. And not just with the money. I know, Dad. I already know. And what are you going to do? I do not know. I'm confused. He is my husband. But after all this, I do not know if I can trust him anymore. That is a decision only you can take, honey. And you. Are you going to continue with the lawsuit? I looked her straight in the eyes. Yes. Dad, please. If you win, if you force him to pay that money, it is going to sink us. Michael does not have that money. He is going to lose the house. We are going to lose everything. Emily, I already lost everything. My house, my dignity, my last years of peace. Everything. I know. And I am so sorry. Do you know what is saddest, honey? That I would have endured poverty. I would have endured living in a tiny room. I would have endured having nothing. But I cannot endure. I did not endure that my own daughter saw me as a hindrance. I never saw you like that, Dad. Yes, you did. That day when you told me to be grateful for having a roof. There I knew I was no longer your dad. I was a burden. Emily cried in silence. The people in the cafe looked at us out of the corner of their eyes. Is there anything I can do? She asked. Anything so you forgive me. Forgiveness will come, Emily, with time. But trust that takes longer to return. And the lawsuit. The lawsuit continues. It is not personal against you. It is against Michael. He used me. He took advantage of my love for you to take my money. But I am going to suffer the consequences too. I know, and it hurts me. But I already made my decision. I got up from the table. Dad, wait. Where are you staying? Are you okay? I am with Henry. I am fine. Better than in months. Can I come visit you? Whenever you want, honey. The door will always be open for you, but only for you. Michael is not welcome. I understand. I left the cafe. I walked down the street. The sun was high. It was hot. But inside, I felt light, as if they had taken a huge weight off me. A week later, the day of the hearing arrived. I put on my best clothes, white shirt dress, pants, my polished shoes. Henry accompanied me to the courthouse. Nervous, buddy, but calm. Mr. Davis was waiting for us at the entrance. Mr. Robert, everything is ready. Let us go in. We entered the room. It was a cold room with plastic chairs, a large desk at the front where the judge was, and there on the other side was Michael. He wore a suit tie. He looked serious. He had his own lawyer. We looked at each other without greeting, without saying anything. The judge entered. We all stood up. Good afternoon, let us begin. And there in that cold room began the legal battle. The battle that was going to decide my future and theirs. The judge opened the file, put on her glasses, reviewed the papers. Good, she said. We are here for a lawsuit for recovery of money. Mr. Robert Mendez against Mr. Michael Morales. Are both parties present with their lawyers? Oh, yes, Your Honor, said Mr. Davis. Yes, Your Honor, said Michael's lawyer. We will proceed then. Mr. Davis, state your case. My lawyer stood up, spoke clearly with confidence. Your Honor, my client, Mr. Robert Mendez delivered the amount of $120,000 to Mr. Michael Morales, money coming from the sale of his patrimony, his house. No document exists specifying that said amount was a donation. Therefore, under the Civil Code, it is considered a loan that must be returned. He put the documents on the table, the copies of the bank transfer, the proofs of the sale of my house, everything. Also, continued the lawyer, we have evidence that my client was induced to deliver said money under the promise that he would live in dignified conditions in the acquired property. Promise that was not fulfilled. Michael's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, that is false. Mr. Mendez lived in my client's house for 6 months. He had a room, food, all services. My client and his wife fulfilled providing him a home. A home, I said, unable to contain myself. The judge looked at me. Mr. Mendez, please, you will have opportunity to speak. Excuse me, Your Honor, I said. Michael's lawyer continued. The money was delivered voluntarily as a gift from father to daughter. My client has no legal obligation to return it. Do you have any document that proves it was a donation? Asked the judge. The lawyer hesitated. No, Your Honor, but the fact that he is his father-in-law implies a family context, where these economic supports are common. I understand, said the judge. Anything else? Yes, Your Honor. My client is willing to reach an agreement. He cannot return the full amount immediately, but he is willing to establish a payment plan. That surprised me. Michael was willing to negotiate. The judge looked at me. Mr. Mendez, what do you say? Would you be willing to an agreement? I stood up. I felt all gazes on me. Your Honor, I did not come here just for the money. No. No, I came for justice, for dignity. That man, I pointed at Michael, he took my house, he took my peace of mind. He turned me into his servant. That is not relevant to this case, interrupted Michael's lawyer. It is very relevant, said my lawyer, because it demonstrates the bad faith with which that money was obtained. The judge raised her hand, asking for silence. Mr. Mendez, continue. During 6 months that man treated me worse than a dog. He shouted at me, humiliated me, made me work as an employee without paying me. And my daughter, my own daughter, told me to be grateful for having a roof. My voice broke a little. I took a deep breath. The roof that I paid for with the money from my house, the house I built with these hands. I showed my hands to the judge, my old hands full of calluses. I worked 45 years as a master builder, Your Honor. I raised houses for others. I raised my own house. I raised my daughter, alone when she was left without a mother. And now that man offers me a payment plan. Michael lowered his gaze. I do not want his payment plan, I said firmly. I want justice. Mr. Mendez, said the judge, I understand your pain, but this is a civil court. Here legal matters are resolved, not moral ones. I know your honor. Legally, that money is mine. It was a loan, not a donation. I want him forced to return it. The judge reviewed the documents again. Several minutes passed in silence. Very well, she said finally. I have reviewed the evidence. Indeed, there is no document specifying that the money was a donation. The transfer is documented. The origin of the money is proven. My heart beat fast. However, continued the judge, it is also true that there is a family relationship, and that Mr. Mendez lived in the acquired property under undignified conditions, interrupted my lawyer. That would have to be proven in another trial, said the judge. For this case, I am going to base myself on the legal facts. She paused. My resolution is the following. The lawsuit proceeds partially. Mr. Michael Morales must return the amount of $90,000 to Mr. Robert Mendez. $30,000 are deducted for maintenance expenses during the 6 months the plaintiff lived in the property. Michael turned pale. $90,000, he murmured. The payment must be made in a term no greater than 90 days. Otherwise, seizure of assets will proceed. But I do not have that money, shouted Michael. Silence, said the judge. If you cannot pay in cash, you will have to sell assets. That is my resolution. The hearing is adjourned. She struck with the gavel. Everything was over. Michael got up furious. He looked at me with hate. This does not end here, old man. I am going to appeal. I am going to fight this until the end. Do it, I told him calmly. But in the meantime, you have 90 days. We left the courthouse. Henry hugged me. You did it, buddy. You won. Mr. Davis smiled. It was a good resolution, Mr. Robert. $90,000. It is not the full amount, but it is justice. It is more than enough, Mr. Davis. Thank you. That night I slept peacefully. I had not won all my money, but I had won something more important. I had demonstrated that an old master builder also has rights, that dignity is not negotiated, that abuse has consequences. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was Emily. Dad. Her voice sounded desperate. Michael is desperate. He does not have the money. He is going to have to sell the house. I remained silent. Dad, please, have mercy. We are going to lose everything. Emily, I was left without a house for helping you. Now it is your turn to know how it feels. But Dad, the decision is already taken, honey. Justice spoke. Now he has to comply. And if I talk to Michael, and if he asks you for forgiveness. I let out a bitter laugh. It is already late for forgiveness, Emily. I hung up the phone, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. 90 days passed. 90 days in which I lived peacefully in Henry's house, working on small projects, helping neighbors with repairs, living with dignity. Emily called me several times, always with the same message. Dad, please, have mercy. We are going to lose everything, but I stood firm, because this was no longer just about the money. It was about principles. It was about showing that nobody can trample on another human being without consequences. Day 90 arrived, a Friday. Mr. Davis called me in the morning. Mr. Robert Michael did not pay. The deadline expired. We are going to proceed with the seizure. When? Today, at 3 in the afternoon. Do you want to be present? I thought about it for a moment. Yes, I want to be there. At 3 sharp, I arrived at the house, that house that I helped to pay for. There was a police car outside, a moving truck, curious people watching from the street. The court official was at the entrance. Mr. Davis was with him. Mr. Davis greeted me. We are going in now. They knocked on the door. Nobody opened. They knocked again louder. Finally it opened. It was Emily. She had red eyes from crying so much. Dad, she said, seeing me. Did you come to see this? Did you come to see how you destroy us? I came to see that justice is done, honey. Ma'am, said the official. We have a seizure order. We need to enter. Emily stepped aside. We entered. The house was a disaster. Boxes everywhere, furniture half packed. It was noticeable that they had tried to take things of value before the seizure. Michael came down the stairs. He looked finished, sleepless, defeated. Mr. Robert, he said with a tired voice, you won. Are you happy? You are going to leave us on the street. I did not leave you on the street, I said calmly. You put yourselves there all alone, when you decided to treat me like trash, when you decided that my money was yours, but my dignity was worth nothing. The official started reviewing the inventory. The furniture, the appliances, everything that had value. The house also enters the process, he said. If the debt is not paid, it goes to auction. Michael let himself fall on the sofa, with his hands on his face. Emily approached me. She took me by the arm. Dad, please, stop this. I beg you. We are your family. I looked her in the eyes. Family. Where was the family when you treated me like a servant? Where was the family when you humiliated me in front of your guests? I already asked for forgiveness 1,000 times. I know, honey, and I forgive you. Really, I forgive you. But forgiving does not mean forgetting, and it does not mean that consequences disappear. Then what do you want? Revenge? No justice. And I already had it. The official finished the inventory. Mr. Robert, said Mr. Davis, I have to inform you something. With the auction of the goods and the sale of the house, it is estimated that the full $90,000 plus interest will be recovered. I nodded. But there is something else continued. You have the legal option of offering a different proposal. What type of proposal? You could accept a partial payment now and forgive the rest, or establish a longer payment plan. The decision is yours. Everyone looked at me. The official, the lawyer, Emily, Michael, waiting. I remained silent for a moment, thinking. I thought about my Martha, about what she would tell me. She who was always noble, who always forgave. I thought about the years I spent raising Emily alone, about the nights I stayed up working to give her an education, so she would be someone. I thought about the 3 months of humiliation, of shouting, of being treated like less than nothing. And then I took my decision. Mr. Davis, I said, I want the sentence to be fulfilled. Complete. Without discounts. Without negotiations. Emily let out a stifled scream. Michael looked up in disbelief. Dad, it is over, Emily. You took decisions. Now you live with them. But we are your family. And I was your father-in-law. I deserved respect, and you did not give it to me. I turned around to leave. Mr. Roberts, said Michael suddenly. You are right. I stopped. I turned. You are right about everything. He continued with a broken voice. I was abusive, a damn user. The truth, I do not deserve forgiveness. He got up. He approached me. But I ask for it anyway. Not for me. For Emily. She is not to blame for having married an imbecile like me. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And I saw a broken man. Defeated. But for the first time. Honest. It is late, Michael, I said. Too late. I left the house. I walked towards the street. The sun was going down. The sky was painted orange. Henry was waiting for me in his car. How do you feel, buddy? Tired, but at peace. 2 months later, I received the full payment. $90,000. They sold the house. They sold everything. Michael and Emily had to go rent a small apartment. With the little they had left, and me. I used that money to buy myself another house. Small, simple, but mine. Henry helped me with the paperwork, and there I am now, in my own house again, with my dignity intact. Emily visits me sometimes. We talk. Little by little, we are rebuilding our relationship. But it is not like before anymore. It never will be like before. And that is fine. Because I learned something important in all this. I learned that silence is not always strength. Sometimes silence is cowardice. Sometimes you have to raise your voice. You have to defend yourself. You have to fight for what is yours. I learned that family is not an excuse for abuse, that love does not mean enduring humiliations. And I learned that never, never is it too late to recover your dignity. Now, I ask you, if it were you, what would you have done? Would you have stayed silent, or would you have fought like me? Tell me. Leave me a comment, and tell me from what city you are listening to me. Because this story is for everyone who ever felt less, for everyone who endured in silence, so they know that always, always one can start over. I am Mr. Robert. I am 72 years old, and I was born again. Thank you for listening to me. And remember, never let anyone take away your dignity. Never.